And we're live. Welcome to yet another coronavirus edition of PCS Q&A. I'm your host, MJ Boyce. I am the Director of Community Outreach at PCS Grades. With me, as always, we have the lovely Megan Harless, our resident PCS reform advocate and resident BA censored for little ears in your room because we love you. All right, we have a very special guest with us today who's going to teach us, including myself, a little bit about how to be organized like a pro because she's a professional organizer. But before we get to Caroline Overstreet, we're going to go through our housekeeping items and hit those DoD updates with Megan. So first and foremost, as every week, we have these guests on for you, just for you, because we know your life and they know your life. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a military spouse or somebody who works in the military community. We have the subject matter experts from Transcom to education specialists to movers and packers to people like Caroline who are there to organize all of the things. We have these experts on here for you. If we want to give you those answers, we've got the answers. If we don't, we know who does. And if we don't know either of those things, we're going to take your questions for action and get back to you with an answer. Next up, yes, these experts are here for you, and so are we. But there are 2 forever and always resources that you must go to for your specific situations, because Murphy likes to insert themselves in there. We have these situations that can only be helped with these 2 resources: your local chain of command and your local transportation office. Those are the people who know you. Those are the people who are dealing with your stuff. Those are the people that can help you in your situation and move it forward for action. Last but not least, I'm saying this every week because it depends on where you're at. We need to do our part. We've got to flatten that curve, people. We have got to flatten the curve. We have to do our part to flatten the curve because you know why? When we flatten the curve, we flatten Murphy with it. Murphy, you're on notice. We are coming for you. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Megan for those DoD updates. Megan?
Hey everybody, so just a couple of updates for this week. Right now, a lot of us are kind of watching what's happening in the Gulf Coast right now with Hurricane Laura. That is expecting to make landfall sometime today, probably in the next couple of hours, and then move north and east a little bit. And we've got some fires burning out in California. So just a reminder, when it comes to your shipment moving, these natural disasters that happen, if your shipment is delayed for any reason that's due to the natural disaster, you are not eligible for an inconvenience claim with your TSP because that's something that's out of their hands that they cannot control. Speaking with Transcom yesterday, they were looking at storage facilities that are being used down in Louisiana in that area that's expected to be impacted by the hurricane. And right now they're not expecting there to be any issues with shipments moving through there. I know a lot of TSPs were either rerouting shipments that were supposed to go along that route or holding them for an extra day to let that hurricane clear through before moving them on. So just be aware that there could be delays to your shipment depending on what route they're supposed to take to get to you. And depending on if there's a delay due to one of those natural disasters that are happening or not, determines on whether you're eligible for an inconvenience claim or not. The second thing I want to bring to you, we talk a lot about pro gear and spouse pro gear, and one of the most commonly asked questions we see in a lot of the groups is, are homeschooling material considered spouse pro gear? Again, speaking with Transcom yesterday and getting some answers directly from them and those folks that write the JTR and the DTR, homeschooling material is not considered spouse pro gear. Now, if you are a teacher, you have a teacher certification, you can use that to be able to count your homeschooling material, but otherwise homeschooling material does not count. We had a long discussion about that yesterday. They are going to go back and relook that policy because right now many of families across the country and our military families are having to do distance learning of some sort, because of our current COVID conditions and the environment that we're living in. So they are going to go back and relook that policy. But currently, right now, homeschooling materials do not qualify as part of spouse pro gear. So that's all we have for now, and sending it back to you, MJ.
Awesome. Thanks for those DoD updates. And I never even would have thought to consider whether or not, school supplies and all that were considered pro gear. And I think that's actually a real concern that everybody's having. And it's a great question. Kind of crappy that we can't get it covered because hi COVID. Maybe an exception in the future. Pretty please, DOD, if you're watching.
We are hoping so. So like I said, we discussed it yesterday into some detail, and they're open to it because of the conditions that we're all currently living in right now, and knowing a lot of folks are having to take that step. So they're going to go back and they're going to look at the policy, discuss it amongst the services and see what they can do. But currently it's not covered, and we strongly believe that it should be for a lot of families. Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah.
Hence the tongue. All right. I am so excited to introduce everyone to our special guest, Caroline Overstreet. She is an Army spouse, but I don't want to give too much away about her. I would like to give her a chance to just introduce herself. So Caroline, would you tell us just a little bit about yourself, please?
Hi, everyone. My name is Caroline Overstreet, and I am an Army spouse. I haven't been an Army spouse for very long, so I'm not as seasoned as some of you other spouses out there. However, this is our third duty station that we are currently at. We're at Fort Stewart, Georgia. It's a great place. Savannah is beautiful. And I own my own organizing business, which is why I've been asked to be on here today. And I'm so grateful. Thank you all so much for asking me to join in to your talk today. Anything?
Awesome. No, you're good. Okay, so I just want to make everybody aware, because you all are living the same lives we are. We are living in COVID land. Ordinarily, if we were to have something cool like this, it would be, with like a cool backdrop. And yes, I'm going to get on that. But I mean, like, we work from home. We're doing this all from our homes. And of course, technical difficulties ensue, but so do shenanigans. So stand by for that. All right. Thank you so much for being on with us today, Caroline. I want to get an idea of what in God's name inspired you to get into this line of work. And I only say it in that way because I am your exact polar opposite. You've got your doppelgangers. Well, I'm the other thing, whatever that is called. So tell me what inspired you to get into organizing.
So that's funny, because I always say that where you have an organizer, there's plenty of unorganized people in the world. So there's plenty of work to go around. I've always been, I'm an Army kid. My dad and my mom, she wasn't Army, but my dad was, and we ran a pretty tight ship at home of being tidy. I would always clean my room on Saturdays on my own accord, not being pushed to do that. So I think it kind of stemmed from my parents instilling that discipline of being organized into my life. And then several years ago, when we were stationed in Germany, I just kept thinking, I said, it's so hard to find a career and keep a career when you move around. And I can't make anything. I'm not really crafty, but I can work. I can do this labor of organizing for people. I've done it, at families' houses. I had a couple people when we were at Fort Leonard Wood that I helped out. So I think it's just that kind of like spark inside that I said, hey, this is actually a business that I can get into. There is a whole network of organizers out there. And I know that I'm not the only military spouse organizer out there either. So we are out there, and people just think like, oh, you go and you organize people's homes. So it's kind of a weird thing. Like, you go and you clean up people's homes, and it's yes, I do. So that's kind of what got me into it. And when we moved to Fort Stewart, I said, there's a really great community, not only military community, but civilians too, that I can tap into both of those worlds. And thankfully, I've had the opportunity to work with both military and civilian here. So the fact that we live near a big city helps a lot too. But this kind of how I got into it. And I'm really excited because the name for the business came out pretty easily, since it's the alliteration of using two O's. Overstreet Organizing. It's always hard to figure out a name for a business, but I felt like it just kind of came to life that way. And I have supportive family and friends that have been super awesome. So that's kind of how I rolled into it.
Oh, bless your heart.
So I really need you to just come show up at my house and to help encourage my kids, get them into that mindset of just cleaning their room naturally on their own every Saturday, because that sounds like a parent's dream.
And it is. It's probably one of the hardest disciplines to do besides like fitness. It's organizing as one of those disciplines that you have to do. And I do virtual organizing. Actually, I have a client I'm working with now. She lives out of state. And we worked on her closet this week, and her husband was super excited. So he saw the closet And so I'm really excited for that avenue of this job too. I was a little nervous because it's kind of hard when you can't be hands-on with somebody, but it worked great. So I'm excited to say, hey, I offer that too. But I like being in person a lot more because I like to work, do it myself, like help out with the person. But yeah.
Yeah. So when we talk about organizing and PCSing, so why is it important for families to organize their home before they PCS, before the movers come?
So I always say that, I think that it's important to know your inventory. You know how our spouses have to inventory their belongings for the military. It's important that we know what's in our house pretty much at all times, because as soon as that loses control, that's when you start having boxes in the basement that you haven't opened after 10 moves of PCSing. And when you know what you have, I feel like we're all kind of guilty of that in a way, but if you know what you have and the movers come, if you go through and you filter out what you don't need before they even get there, then of course it makes the opposite end when you get there, or to your new place, it makes it much easier to deal with. And I call it popping up the circus tent. So you want to make sure that you know what's going in that circus tent so that you can just easily pop it up when you get to your new place. And my husband and I, we kind of have a battle rhythm, I guess if you want to use those terms, for how we break down our house in order for the movers to come in, because we actually break our house down ourselves before the movers even step foot in our house. So all of our items, so pictures that are on the wall, mirrors, we group them all together and we establish a place to set them in the home. Do the same with lamps. I mean, anything really. Kitchen stuff broken down, all in the kitchen, ready to go. So that way when the movers come in, you know exactly what you have. You could have your high value items, so your porcelain or breakables, all together. And all they have to do is literally wrap and put them in a box. And I know that's much harder if you have children, but if you can kind of guide them and teach them, hey, we're going to take down your room. We're going to put all your pictures over here. We're going to put your lamps together over here. We're going to put your blankets in the bag over here. That way, when the movers come in, they literally can just go from pile to pile and put them in the boxes. And same with if you're doing a Diddy move too. It's easier on you, I think.
Oh, for sure. And I'm just going to go, because we've got a couple comments coming in. And speaking of comments, I just want to let all those who are watching right now, let you know that each time you comment with a suggestion, a kudos to our girl Caroline or Megan over here, or me, if I do something in this to make you laugh, I guess. No.
Go MJ.
No LOL smiley faces don't count. But if you have something to add or ask, you're entered to win some Hope Design bling, and I can't wait to show you. It's going to be awesome. So keep that interaction coming. I'm just going to throw one of these up here. So here we've got, I think it's Al Irvine. Shout out, as a homeschooling family, thank you for advocating materials as pro gear. You're welcome, because we are all in the same boat. Oh, I mean, that's literally, I hope, DOD, if you're listening, you're, seeing a pattern here. And then Angela, shout out Angela. Wonderful question and answer about shipping homeschooling materials with our HHG. So see, it's on everybody's radar. And then we got Ginger Boyce, who just so happens to be my sister-in-law. And by the way, in my life, the world's best organizer. I'm not even kidding. Ooh. But even she has boxes that have never been opened. And yes, she, Air Force spouse, my brother-in-law retired from the Air Force. That's her. And she gets me, but she's got you. She gets you too. So shout out, Ginger.
Yeah, and just talking about opening your boxes when you PCS, not only is it, as Caroline said, to organize things and you have inventory of your home and stuff, but it's also for claims for damage. That way, if you've got something broken sitting in that box, you can claim it. And that box doesn't, have something broken in it that gets moved around 5 times. Then you open it up and wonder, well, what move did this happen in? Did it happen from there to there or wherever? So I always advocate and always tell people, open the box, take a look. If you open it and you realize it is keepsake items that I don't need to unpack. You can tape it back up, shove it in the closet then. But at least you've opened it, you've looked at it, you've seen what's inside of that box, and it's not the random box getting moved around that just gets re-tagged every time you go to PCS. So please, y'all, open your boxes, please.
What's in the box? What's in the box? Okay. So, Caroline, for people like myself who may be organizationally challenged a little bit or a lot of it, what kind of things should they organize? What kinds of things should they organize before? Like, I know it's important to organize pre-PCS, but what kinds of things would I need to organize before I PCS?
Well, I always say definitely your papers. That's a big one. Paper organization. So if you have a PCS binder, that's a key start with. But my husband and I, when we moved here, we have just a small file box, and we went through, got rid of files that we no longer needed, that had to be paper files, because I know a lot of people are going digital, but sometimes you still have to have a piece of paper. So I say paper, and then places like your linens. I've worked with several clients who have had towels that probably could have been done away with. Go ahead, take those to the animal shelter. They are always looking to take those. Get rid of some old towels.
Tip.
Yeah, take them. The animal shelters, they use them for the cages and stuff when they're in there. And if you take them there, or to a veterinarian that also boards on the site, take them there. But I would say linen closets, get rid of, you don't need 100,000 towels. Just kind of take inventory of who's in your family, and then add guests on top of that. So if you have like 2 guest room, you don't need 100 towels. But also pantry items or kitchen items. We all have a favorite spatula that we always kind of go for, and you don't need 10 others with it. So if you can.
Are you hearing this, Christopher Scott? Are you hearing this? I love you, boo. Shout out to my husband. I love you. He's watching.
I am not I don't really enjoy cooking. So I'm definitely the first one to get rid of a spatula, but I know a lot of people, they will have like 10 spatulas, 100 different other things. You only need maybe 1 or 2. Honest, unless you are a chef, then it's different. But like, you don't need to carry that extra weight around with you. So I say that toys, for those with kids, go through your toys. Make it just. I know kids kind of like get a little upset when you get rid of those toys, but just say, what's your favorite toy, and then say, okay, well, I know there's probably other children out there that don't even have any toys, and this is what my mom said to me. So she's like, other kids are out there, they don't have any toys to play with. You haven't played with this toy in a long time. And I know that these kids would be very happy to have that. So.
What's funny that you say that? I just got to throw this out there. Like, that person that kind of just saved that, because every time I would try to go through it, they would be like putting stuff back in the room, sneaking up there. So I went into I was cleaning my garage out a couple months ago, and we found some Polly Pockets, circa 1998, whatever. No, they were my daughter's, and I'm like, I'm going to toss these, or maybe I should ask her first. And I'm not even kidding you. Like, if I would have saved them, she would be like, no, I want to keep them.
I want to keep them.
21. What are you talking about? You want to keep a Polly Pocket? Are you serious? That's what would happen. So I wish I would have had that conversation with her much sooner. My son, he's like, toss, donate, toss, give me Harry Potter, I'm out.
That's how my brother-in-law is. He does not save anything. He's not sentimental. And my sister and I, we're more sentimental. So if it's a family heirloom, I'm not saying get rid of that, but like special toys that you've had since you were a baby that were, that's okay. But when you get tons of Polly Pockets or extra like Legos, all right, unless you're a Lego pro, you don't need 1,000 billion 100 Legos to tote around. So,
I'm done stepping on them. I am so done stepping on them.
And unpacking them from the bottom of boxes. I'm over that as well. Like,
yes.
For whatever reason, it always seems that I think they open the lid and just dump them in, and then add some packing paper and then another layer of Legos.
Yes, Legos are great, but I also know they're probably could be added under a high value item too, because the cost of Legos is insane. But I just say I would say your linens, go through those, your kitchen supplies, bathroom, you do not need to keep 100 bottles. I keep saying 100, but you do not need to keep 100 bottles of sample shampoo.
It's like you're going through my house right now. And I'm almost embarrassed because you're saying, I'm like, oh, I've got like 25 unused shampoo bottles, all different brands, all different scents.
You take them from the hotels when you travel, and then you have like a drawer where they just gather
Yes.
and they multiply, and you never use them because it's not the brand or the style or the smell that you want, but you couldn't leave
Yeah.
a shampoo bottle.
You paid for it.
Like, why would I do such a thing?
Yeah, and I actually, we're gonna call my mom out here, but I literally went home last month and decided to rearrange my room, clean my room at home. And then I figured I would just do some cabinets, and I was going through our bathroom cabinets, and I was like, Mom, you've had some of these sample soaps for forever. I said, these are probably, they will like probably burn someone's skin if they try to use it. I was like, time for them to go. You haven't seen them. You don't need them. Get rid of them. They're taking up space. And sure enough, she pretty much cleared out one whole shelf, which has a lot of space in it. So I said, look at that. Now you can put the stuff that you don't use all the time up here, but now that you've gotten rid of all those soaps. So don't carry those from duty station to duty station. No need, extra weight. If they leak, it just goes too crazy.
No, so much to all of that, especially the household good weight, because I know we all play that game of like, we're moving in 6 months, honey. We need to purge,
Yes.
we need to get rid of. How close to our weight can we get? How far underweight can we get? Like let's play that game and start taking bets now. So we going through the process, we've organized our home for our PCS. They've packed, they've shipped it across the country, and now we're preparing for our delivery of our household goods. So what are some things that families should think about when preparing for their household goods? Is there a way they should prep their home when receiving their household goods to be able to organize when they unpack? Like what should families know about that end of the process?
So I'm sure a lot of families already do this, but first clean your home if it's dirty. That's what I always do. I go and I scrub it down. Second, kind of get like a blueprint of the layout of your home, even if you just do a hand sketch, but you know your furniture, you know what you have. Figure out where you want to place things in the room, like your bed or the TV stand or the couch, because playing Tetris in a smaller area when you came from a bigger area, that's going to take a lot of brain work. And if you can get that out of the way before your household goods arrive, that makes it a little less daunting. And then if you have like measuring tape with you, measure if you have a pantry, measure your pantry out, see what kind of, if you want to get organizing bins to like place in there, or underneath your cabinets, underneath the sink cabinet, your linen closet. If you didn't have bins before, or cute little baskets, put your washcloths in. Kind of get an idea of how many baskets you could fit there, and measure out, what would be able to fit. As I know, a lot of people like to put their stuff in baskets. I have stuff in baskets in my linen closet. But we don't all have linen closets. I know some people that don't even have a linen closet in their current home, and they're trying to figure out another way. And that's, again, looking at a blueprint of your house saying, okay, well, we don't have a linen closet, so what can we do? How can we think outside of the box and readjust to this new place? But yeah, I would just say take inventory of what you could have for baskets, for organizing baskets, and know where you want to put your bed or your couch, because home staging has a lot to do with organization too. The flow of a room, you'd be surprised, like the feng shui goes hand in hand with feeling organized. I know I've done some homes where we've actually rearranged an entire room in order to make it function better for the family. So it's as simple and as complex as that.
You're muted, MJ. We can't hear you.
Of course,
but while she's muted, I'm going to jump in really quick and just say the good point Caroline made is knowing where you want your bed to go when your household goods are getting delivered, because there's nothing worse than them unloading your truck and they are just piling, stacking boxes on a wall, which seems like the right thing to do, and then telling them, oh, I need my bed set up and I want it on that wall. And then you have everybody that's, tired because they've spent the last 6 hours unpacking 15,000 pounds and then looking at you like, are you crazy? Like, you want us to move all these boxes to put your bed there? Like, isn't this other wall perfect for your bed? Like, don't you want your bed over there? So just exactly what she said. Know where you want your bed to go, and then just tell them, my bed is going here when they start unpacking or start unloading. So that way they leave a space there for your bed.
Yes.
Good call. Space for bed or sleeping bags.
Yeah.
No, check. Okay, so Angela, she went ahead and said she thinks you came through her house as well because she's got all those sample soaps and shampoos. So you're not alone. And then we've got Lizanne. Shout out Lizanne. She said, great point. Base housing usually doesn't include many closets.
Sad.
Yeah. And then we've got Mary. Hey, Mary, what's up? Give the home tour with your layout.
Give the home tour with your
Yeah,
layout.
when your crew shows up for delivery, give them the tour of your home where you want stuff to go.
Smart.
And
Very smart.
They have an idea. When the white twin bed comes off of the truck, it goes into this room and that it's going on that wall. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, good idea. And
Yeah.
I know people write on piece of paper, stick it to a door and say this, and this. Like
Megan went through a whole tutorial on that in one of our previous webinars. And I mean, it was like color code. I'm telling you, you guys were BFFs. Okay. I'm like serious because you are on the same wavelength.
If you're moving soon, I'm sure me and Caroline, we can work something out. We'd be happy to come show up at your home, get you organized, get you pre-packed, get your new home, all labeled and color coded and everything else. You'll have the best move ever.
Be careful what you wish for.
Careful what you. I love it.
Okay, so let's say I'm done. I've arrived. My movers are here. When unpacking our household goods, what do we need to be aware of? What do families need to be aware of? Like, something like don't just throw the towels in the closet. Hi. Don't just, throw all these random boxes nowhere near where they're going to be. Don't build your bunk bed downstairs if it's going upstairs. Hi, Chris.
Yes.
That was actually both of us. But yeah, like what would you say families should be like mindful of and thinking about and aware of?
Know your boxes. I know there's plenty of ways to label your boxes. If you have, I know I've seen tons of stuff out there where they've got the cool tape. So once you figured out which room you want things to go into, try to make sure those boxes get to that room. But make sure, I know you guys know this too, so I feel like I'm going to just be preaching to the choir, but make sure you have a parts box, and that's like, so you're not missing any nuts and bolts and stuff, because those are very important. I've heard horror stories. But I guess when you get to your new home, just start unpacking, know your kitchen boxes. I always say kitchen and bedrooms go first. Kids, get them ready so that they can hang out in their bedrooms. The kitchen is probably the biggest one for me to have squared away, because you're going to start cooking right away because you're tired of eating out from PCSing. And the kitchen can take a while because we came from actually a smaller kitchen to a larger kitchen. So it took me a good 2.5 days to function, figure out a good functional system for all my belongings, so that I've never seen so many cabinets before. And that's a blessing and a curse at the same time. But just know, again, it all comes down to knowing your inventory, know your boxes. You keep a list on your end of what's in those boxes so that you're like, all right, I've got these items. This is where I want them to go in this specific room. I hope that kind of answers your question. That was a tough one. That was a tough one.
We like the stumpers.
Yeah.
That is hardly a stumper. Just stand by. Okay, really quick. Actually, this is in direct relation into kind of what we were just talking about. Ginger has a question. What role should kids play in getting ready for a move? Or heck, even ways just to get them to even clean their rooms?
Ooh.
Word.
Okay, so disclosure, I'm not a parent, so I have never moved with children. So whatever I say, take it with a grain of rice. But I think if you can get your kids excited, the scene in Mary Poppins where she gets the kids to clean up the playroom. She comes up with a song, and then they have this magical time cleaning up their playroom, and then they get to go to the park. I think if you make it a fun thing, you could do a scavenger hunt. I know my mom's a third grade teacher, and at the end of the year, she's done scavenger hunts for her students to help take down the room. So if you have the time and that you can do a simple scavenger hunt to kind of get your kids engaged, and then monkey see, monkey do. If they see you doing it and you maybe do it with them or say, hey, mom is going to be doing this. We're all going to stop. No more TV at this time. We are going to focus on doing these tasks together. Then group them in. I'm not saying that all kids will agree with that, but it's a team effort, and just keep drilling that in their heads. It's a team effort. I don't know. I think if you focus on the kids first, especially when you get them ready to move, get their stuff done first before you take care of the rest of the house. Kind of use that as a teaching moment, and just don't do it all. Don't do it all by yourself. You want them to be self-sufficient. Yeah. You want them to help out, and when they're older, to realize, hey, my mom and I did this together. I know how this process works, and I can now use this for my life. And I know I appreciate what my parents did for me when I was younger. I may have gritted my teeth a bit, but I do.
Okay. Wait a second. You appreciate it now.
I appreciate it now. Yeah. But then
it's one of them things.
Yeah. Weeding. Okay. My parents made us weed the gardens, and we hated it. I will go to my parents' house now, and I will go outside, rake leaves, weed the gardens all on my own. So even though it took a long time for me to get there, it still happened. And they would go outside and weed those gardens with us. They wouldn't always make us do it on their own. So they were out there laboring alongside of us, which I think was encouragement to me. So if your kids see you getting your room squared away to be packed up, and they're like putting your books all together and your toy section all together and your clothes all together, then just say, hey, you're going to work on this. Now, toddlers and infants are one thing. Toddlers, you might just have to put them in those cage setup things and let them run in.
Put them in a cage. You hear that? Parenting 101. Put them in a cage.
Those playpens. The good playpens. Like you have the big living room ones.
Yes,
I mean, it does look like an indoor.
Looks like a little cage.
They do, depending on the size you get them. But I just wanted to add on to Ginger. For us, for our family, we do get our kids involved a lot in the process, especially pre-packing. They each get a trash bag, and I tell them go fill it with their stuffed animals, so they're all bagged together and various things like that. And I know for younger kids, sometimes it can be traumatizing seeing people pack up their toys and wondering, where are my toys going and what's going on. I know a lot of packers have no issues letting kids come in and help pack a box, put in their favorite, stuffed animal or toy or whatever. So the kids can understand, we're packing it up. We're going to move it to your new house. Mark that box that has their favorite toy in it, and let that be the first box you open on the other end, so they can see that their favorite dollhouse did arrive. So that way it kind of makes it a little bit more easier for them.
I like that. I guess desensitize them to the idea of moving. Be like, all right, you're about to watch all your belongings get packed away, and kind of just introduce them to that. And especially if they're really little, and I know that it's traumatic for an adult to watch your stuff get packed away, praying that you'll see it on the other end. So I can only imagine it being for how it is for a kid.
I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're unpacking our home, when we're at, the final piece of it, we're trying to finish getting things together and put where they belong. What is the most common area or two that you see a lot of families kind of struggle with, or that they should pay extra attention to when organizing after they do unpack their house?
Definitely the kitchen and pantry. Those are the biggest things that I see. A lot of people, they just kind of throw everything in because they're stressed trying to get everything out of the boxes. And they don't really think about the functional system of a kitchen. So, for instance, if you have a cabinet near your dishwasher that can hold your plates and your cups, make sure it's the closest to your dishwasher. That way you pull the dishwasher open and you're literally just heaving and hoeing right into that cabinet. Don't make it all the way across the room. I know not every kitchen is set up to the perfection that we want it to be, but try to get it as close to the mark as you can. Same with your silverware. Don't put the silverware thing all the way across the room. Make sure it's close to your dishwasher. And the other thing is linen closets. It's always the closets, your clothes, the master bedroom closet, the kids' closets, the clothing, you just kind of throw it in there if you have the closet space. But try to establish a system, your dresses together, your blouses together, your pants together. Don't have one thing after another. For your shoes, the same thing. Don't just throw them in there. Make sure that there's some kind of uniformed way that they are placed in there. So that way you can go in and you know exactly where that item is in your closet and you can grab and go. And just make sure that you put it back where it came from. But I would think that the kitchen and the pantry, the laundry room, that kind of area too, can get kind of messy with just throwing stuff around. Garages, that's a big one. Those extra boxes you haven't opened up usually end up in a garage or a basement somewhere.
Okay, so that's my house.
That's your house.
So that's my house. Yeah.
So what I'm telling you, MJ, is that when we're done with this today, you and Chris need to go out to your garage and start opening up those boxes you haven't opened in the last 8 years.
Dude, you're putting this out into the universe. Now he's going to have expectations. Come on.
Listen, we've been calling Chris out all day. First with his spatula, and there was something else we called him out on, and now this. So, I mean, listen, Chris, if you're still watching and you're still listening, we have a honeydew list for you. And it's first to clean out your spatulas and then to go work on your garage.
I am so fired. I am so fired.
It's a good thing I'm in Texas and nowhere near you.
Thanks. Good looking out. So anyways, okay. So we went through unpacking our household goods. We went through our, common areas that need help organizing just before and after a PCS. But I've got an additional surprise question, bonus question for you. Okay, so now we've all seen these organization shows on the television, okay? And we all hate ourselves after we watch them. Yeah. At least
I do too. That's scary.
So here's the thing. I know that there's a certain amount of psychology associated with the organization process, just as there is with PCSing, okay? So I'm going to put it in terms of, I don't want to say, we're not hoarders. Like, not everybody's a hoarder. That's not what I'm talking about. But there's still those that you have the same challenges psychologically on letting things go when we have to purge prior to a PCS, right? So is any part of your job, do you ever encounter anybody that you have to maybe talk through some items on?
Yes. Yes. Organizing it can almost be like counseling. You get very intimate in the intimate setting of someone's home. You have entered their domain, their sanctuary. So you get to know the person, and sometimes you're working with people who have lost a loved one, and you're going through that loved one's closet to pass on the clothing. So it's a lot of when you hire an organizer, you want to make sure that you all work together like a well-oiled machine, that you can trust one another, that they can be someone that you can talk with and are confidant in a way. I have had a client that his mother had passed away years back when he was younger. And we were going through the linen closet, and I pulled out this, it looked like it was from the 80s. It was a duvet. And I said, is this something that you guys you have? And his wife told me, she said, no, that belonged to his mother. And I'd known that his mother passed away. And I said, oh, okay. So I said, so this is something very special. And she said, yes. And I said, well, we don't need to get rid of it. He just liked to hold on to things. So knowing your client in that way. And then you find out things about them as you go on, as you work with them, but it's a very tender subject. And sometimes you just have to, if it's a t-shirt that they've had and they're like, I paid $100 for this. I'm like, well, think of it as a car. As soon as you drive it off the lot, it loses value. If you can get $10 out of it, you're good. But other than that, it's a very deep personal job. So you just want to tread lightly, but also reassure them that it's okay, we're moving forward, and it's what's inside. You have the memory of said thing, and sometimes people just, they will not let go. They will not let go. And that is another step up, that they actually have real organizers that are trained to work with people. There's about 5 levels of hoarding. You can look it up on the internet to see which level, but it gets pretty intense very quickly. So they actually have organizers that are trained in the psychological department to help these people get through. And that's where that TV show Hoarders comes in. Now for Marie Kondo, tidying up, everybody wants that, or the home edit. The ones that get the rainbow cereal, so they go and buy 10 boxes of Lucky Charms, and they pick out each piece, or Cocoa Puffs or whatever, and they'll pick out each piece to put in that jar, and they'll put the Oreo cookies in that crazy way. I'm down to earth. I'm a realistic organizer. I work with what you have. If you want me to go buy some cereal and put the colors in, I can do that too. But we work with what you have, and then we go from there. So we it's like the baseline of getting you back and squared away, from chaos to organization. But yeah, I will say there are some people that won't budge on things, and honestly, it is their call at the end of the day. I'm just there to kind of encourage them to say, hey, you haven't touched this in 20 years. I promise I don't think you're going to need all these cords. I think we can let them go. It's okay to let them go. Like, you don't need all these cords. But yeah.
I think we all have a box of random cords that moves with us every PCS because it belonged to that computer, or I'm not sure what it went to. It might go to this DVD player. And so I might need it. Who knows what our next TV configuration will be. So we all have a box of cords that travels with us. I can tell you, we at least open up our box of cords and verify it's still our box of cords.
It's still your box.
It gets stuck in the garage that we don't use for the next 2 years.
It's tradition.
Right? And then I always try to channel like my inner Marie Kondo when we get ready for our PCS purge. I just walk around the house. I'm just like, this has to go and that has to go and this doesn't spark joy. All in the game of, we got to make weight, and let's see how low can we go with our weight? It's just like
limbo, PCS limbo.
Your broken toys don't bring me joy. Like, let's get rid of them. Like, I know they mean something to you, but I'm not keeping your broken Hot Wheels any longer. Like, go.
They gotta go.
Yeah. Before we get into any more questions and comments, Caroline, I just want to give you an opportunity. Where can people find you, and where can they find Overstreet Organizing so they can reach out to you and have you come set up their home to be magnificently organized?
So you can find me on the internet, like everything else. I have a Facebook page and I have an Instagram page, and it literally is Overstreet Organizing. It's got like a bluish green logo, and it says Overstreet Organizing. But you can find me there. I am located in the Savannah, Georgia area. I have traveled. I've gone as far as Nashville to work. I've gone back home to Richmond and done a couple jobs there. I have a virtual client right now, so we could do it like this on FaceTime, and it does work. I will say that. But for the virtual clients, I will say that you have to have that spark in you to like be revved up on your end. Otherwise, it's a lot easier to work together. But I am in, again, the Savannah, Georgia area. I do travel when I can. It depends on what you got going on, but I'm happy to help. I really do find that this is my way to give back to people, because it is a service that a lot of people don't think about needing, but they do need it. And when they say, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing, that somebody can come into my house and organize, it's like, yes, it is a thing. Just like when you go get your nails done every month, like you see that as a value to you. If you think that, oh, hey, I really could use someone to come in and straighten up this whole area and get me a system that functions with my family, that's a value that you could see as well. So I am happy to help any and everybody. You don't have to be military. You can be civilian. I have helped both. And I just feel that this is kind of a calling for me, and I'm super excited. I'm still pretty new in the business world, but I do feel like this is where I've been led to do this work. So, yeah,
that's pretty cool. actually have a question, and it can go to either way. It can go to either or both. Amy, shout out Amy. Amy wants to know, would you recommend carrying your parts box in hand or leaving it with the shipment?
Megan.
So
Pass.
I got y'all. So it's really a personal preference. I know a lot of people who say always take it with you because if that parts box goes missing, you're obviously not getting your bed set up when you get your shipment delivered. It seems like if there is a box missing, sometimes it is the parts box. So that way crews don't have to set stuff up. So I've seen people, and my family even did it a couple of times where I would take those parts. I either took the parts box with us or I put all the parts into a big Ziploc bag and packed that into my suitcase. We did that when we were having a lot of less than desirable moves that were happening. But our last move, we put it on the truck and it arrived and everything was just fine. And I know a lot of people that it shows up in their shipment just fine too. Now, if you do send in your shipment, I do suggest that you know which box it is. It's usually inventory as box number 1 because then you know where to look, where to find it at. I usually either put colored tape on it. Sometimes it's a white box that's labeled as parts box, so that way you can identify it easily. So I just say mark it so you know which one it is. Our last move, it came off the truck. I secured that happy little box and set it in the kitchen cabinet so nobody saw it. Nobody knew where it was at. I knew it was secured. And at the end of the day, I busted that box open and said, all right, let's put together the beds now. But that way I knew it wasn't, stacked in a corner of the living room somewhere underneath a million other boxes. So it's a big personal preference on how secure you are with the experience that you're having. I would say if you're having a bad experience with your move, maybe take it with you. If you're having a good experience, maybe let it go on the truck. And it also depends on how many parts you have. Because obviously you have a lot of stuff that's got to be put together and you have a huge box of parts. and you're going Oconus, that may not be something you really want to take with you on the plane, depending on what your baggage limit and things are. So I would keep that in mind and just, whatever gives you the warm and fuzzies, go that route.
Word. And then Ginger actually had a really good tip, which is actually kind of comical. Tip for cords: label them as soon as you get them with what it is it belongs to and the year. Love my label maker. And can I just say, yes, she does.
Smart.
Yes, she does.
That is a good tip. I need to add label maker to my Christmas list now.
You're not kidding, girl, seriously. Okay, so we have, oh yes, and she got them from last week too. We are fixing to give away, yes, I said fixing to. We are fixing to give away some bling. And I'm going to go ahead and put these names here in the wheel of names, and I'm going to share my screen with you all. This is very exciting. So we are giving away 3. That's 3 Hope Design limited necklaces. And for those of you who aren't aware of Hope Design, Google it. Just like our girl Caroline here said, Google it. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen. So we're going to give away these 3 things. And for the winners, if you could email or message us on Facebook here, the winners, message us with your email address. And here we go. You ready?
Let's do it.
Drum roll for the first winner. Who shall it be? Who shall it be? Winner, chicken dinner. All right. Tony/Linda. And just so you know, just so everybody knows, we have some people from last week as well that we added to this, our Oconus peeps who don't typically get to participate. Okay, so we've got, we'll move that one. That was number 1. Number 2. Here we go. Big money. Joyce Murphy.
Congratulations, Joyce.
Joyce, go ahead and send us your email address at PCS Grace Facebook, please. All right, last one. Here we go. Big money, throwing all the juju out there. Oh, Farrah Ramsey.
Yay,
All right.
congratulations.
Farrah, go ahead and send us your email address at the PCS Grades Facebook page. Send us your email address and we will get in contact with all three of you to send you your wonderful Hope Design Limited bling. And let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen because there's too many others. All right. Well, that is all we have today for our PCS Q&A. I'd like to thank our guest, Caroline Overstreet. You have been phenomenal. I have learned so much. And for those of you who are watching the replay and have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them in the comment box because we're going to stay in touch with our girl, Caroline, over here. She's not going to get rid of us so fast. As always, thank you so much, Megan, for being our PCS reform advocate, our guru, our woman in charge. No, we really appreciate your guidance, and we're glad to have you here every week because she is my partner in crime, people. She is my partner in crime. And thank you so much. And to our audience, until next week, this too shall PCS. Bye, everybody.
Bye.